Are we live?
Yep.
Yeah. Are we live? I see us. So are we live? Also, Job, your battery is exhausted apparently.
Can you guys hear us in the audience?
Hello, everyone. Once again, we have failed to be able to set it up so I can give the introduction as the first words out of my mouth, but that's okay. It's Inappropriate Characters, and this is the RPG Pundit, the final boss in Internet Shitlords. And I am joined, as always, by Avenger Satanist, and in theory, by Joe Bittman. We're not sure if he's actually here or not anymore. We hope he is. There's a no signal sign on his little box. And earlier it was saying battery exhausted, so he might have powered himself out or something. I don't know what's going on there. Now Venge's gone. So I guess it's just me.
I'm here.
Oh no, wait, Venge's back. All right, we're good. Tonight we're going to talk about a lot of things. First of all, to any of you who are from the United States, I hope you had a happy 4th of July yesterday. Man, it was probably a really weird 4th of July, wasn't it? I mean, one thing for sure, it definitely made very clear that if you actually like the 4th of July, if you like things like America and the flag and Mount Rushmore and the founding fathers and the Constitution and the Declaration of Independence and Abraham Lincoln, if you like those things and those people, then if you like America basically, then you pretty much have to be a Republican now, don't you? I mean, every Democrat I saw was talking about how horrible all those things were, right? Some of them are saying they should blow up Mount Rushmore. I mean, it's crazy, right? So I'm sure that there are some of you out there that might have traditionally, historically, that you love America, but you might have traditionally voted Democrat, right? Just because they weren't always this insane. So, but maybe now you got to figure out that, like the New York Times basically said, oh, the American Constitution wasn't so hot, the Declaration of Independence sucked, and Mount Rushmore should be torn down because it was stolen land, So you can't vote Democrat if you still like America, guys. Anyway, that's my little political, unrequested political spiel at the start of the show. But tonight we are going to talk mostly about gaming, of course. And we're going to start by talking about where we talk about games in social media. And in particular, in this case, a place where I don't talk very much about game. I mean, I do have a page, the RPG Pundit page on Facebook, but I spend as little time on Facebook as possible. I'll just post updates there or whatever. But Venger does a lot of stuff on Facebook. And he got himself into a bit of a whirlwind there on account of something I posted. It wasn't something he posted on Facebook. He posted a link to his blog, and a bunch of people went after him like just nuts.
Rabid dogs.
Yeah. So I'll let Venger talk about that. But just before that, let me remind you all, if this is your first time here, be sure to subscribe and hit that notification bell. If you like the show, please like the video and share it anywhere you like, because that's a big help to the channel. Okay, it looks like Job's back now, and now we can Avenger. Okay, good stuff. So go ahead, Avenger, and tell us about how you were defenestrated on Facebook.
Okay. So yeah, I very innocently, a lot of times I post updates, things from my blog, which is usually role-playing game related. Things that I'm working on, or different milestones, what's going on in the industry or the hobby. But sometimes I'll post pop cultural things or movie reviews or politics. And since after the pandemic, we got hit with, a rash of riots and protests and looting, arson, murder, the whole gamut. I posted something from my blog that talked about Black Lives Matter and how some of the originators of that group were Marxists. They came out and admitted that they were trained Marxists, and that's kind of their ideological roots for Black Lives Matter. And I pointed this out and just told people, be careful, arm yourself with knowledge, because the group that you might be supporting without thinking could be going against, the very essence of America and freedom and democracy and, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. That's what Marxism, like deep socialism, not like Europe, but, actual socialism and communism, that's what those are all about. That's what depriving people of freedom, and eventually almost everybody starves to death, and the economy and everybody's lives are ruined, except for maybe the 5% at the top. So basically I posted that, and then by the end of the week, I had like 450 comments. 90% of them were negative. There were some people supporting me and being like, Avenger's not a racist. He's just pointing out what people admitted on camera, that they're Marxists, and that's part of Black Lives Matter. It was, yeah.
Joe, can I interrupt you for a second? There were people in the chat saying they couldn't hear you when you were talking before. So let's do a little test. Guys, can you hear Job when he talks now?
I can.
Yeah, we can hear you, but I don't know if they can.
Okay.
Guys, let us know in the chat if you can hear Job. Let us also know if you really want to hear Job or not, because that's all I can.
Noobs.
Okay, apparently they cannot hear you, Job. So both us and the audience. No, nobody can hear Job.
Okay.
He has censored himself, everyone. This I think is because of profound envy, right? Because that the SJWs have tried to censor me. That they've tried to censor Venger. We're just talking about a case where they've been like harassing Venger on Facebook. And I think Job feels a little left out right now. He hasn't become famous enough yet for them to try to really destroy his life. So
maybe YouTube is like putting all of their arsenal into censoring Job right now, and that's how they're fighting back against the patriarchy. Is
I think YouTube is just YouTube is just kind of crappy in that they've never set up a way to just do a live stream with the YouTube app with multiple people, which you'd think would be like one of the things they'd most want to set up to do, because a lot of people do that, right? But no. Anyway,
I just noticed that my camera's not working. Or the image of me is frozen. I'm not like a statue in real life.
Frozen. Guys,
that doesn't bother me. I'm just letting everybody know.
Avenger. We're still in the period of trying to work out all the technical details of the program made to run this thing, I guess.
Or perhaps I'm engaged in a contest against people in the chat room for who can stay still the longest.
The longest.
I'm winning.
I hope you guys are hearing all of this ridiculous banter.
Yeah. So anyway, the whole Facebook Black Lives Matter thing, it was a pretty big deal. Like everybody came out of the woodwork and were just like, I hope they cancel you, and fuck you, Avenger, and you a racist piece of shit, and like you don't understand anything, you know, the whole 9 yards. I just tried to defend myself, and it was just like, whatever. You know, people came out of the woodwork to say, like, well, I'm never going to buy anything that you sell ever or ever again. I'm like, okay.
So over in the comments, Lich Lichmanson says, Venger, that your face looked kind in that frozen image.
That's why it must be burned.
You look like a kind person. Also, Greasy Smith says, I finally got the Lion and Dragon hardcover and PDF because I'm depressed during COVID-19. But I haven't been able to get a group to try it yet. Well, I'm glad you picked it up, Greasy. I hope you get a chance to play it soon. Job, how's the situation with your audio chat? Anything? Okay, anybody? If you can hear Job, please let us know. If you still can't hear him, then let us know.
Yeah, I'm unfrozen, by the way. That's cool.
Yeah, now you're okay. Yeah, you're moving now. And no one can tell if I'm frozen or not. So I just have to kind of say if they can't hear me. Yeah. Anyway, Venger, I think it was interesting though, because you posted the exact same link to your blog on other social media. I saw you post it on Twitter, for example.
Right.
I don't know if you posted it elsewhere.
I can probably hear me now.
But at least on Twitter, that you didn't get that same kind of reaction. It kind of, you know, there were some people that commented on it, but it kind of just, you know, sailed through, right?
Yeah, for some reason, the Facebook, like, just drew everybody, like people I didn't even know or know who knew me. But yeah, Twitter was pretty silent. Maybe I got 5 likes and 1 retweet or something like that. But yeah, Facebook, it just totally blew up. I had like 2,000 views on that particular blog post in like 4 or 5 days. And normally I got like 160.
Talk a bit more, Job. Let us know what you think about this, and let's. Job, did you want to say something about Venger's defenestration? Wait, now people are saying they can't hear you anymore. I'm sorry, but you're mute again. Unbelievable. Can you guys hear the rest of us testing? Can you hear me?
That reminds me what Job was saying, that a few individuals would like manually go to people that we were mutually friends with and discuss me and be like, did you know that you're friends with this person and that they're saying this and that they're a total racist or whatever? And just trying to like go door to door virtually and try to get me canceled or unfriended or, I don't know, deplatformed or something. It's just like, who puts that much work into? It's not, I mean, if I post on my Facebook, like if I did what was it, Die Hard 3 or something like that, like I hate N-words or something like that, then yeah, you know, come after me or come after anyone and be like, that's not cool, like get out or something like that. That I can understand. But questioning the motives of individuals that are deeply involved in a certain organization, what's that about? Why is someone going to put that much work into, you know, trying to, what they see as destroying me, even though
that's kind of become the SJW standard tactic these days, hasn't it? Where they've it's now not enough for them to try to attack you. they're also going to go to anyone on your friends list and try to say, do you know that this guy is, whatever, a white supremacist or something like that. They'll make up some nonsense. He's a homophobe or whatever, and try to scare other people into canceling you too, to the point that now it's become very common that if you have the wrong person on your friend list, you will now be canceled also, right? Like they're especially among the, in the case of the gaming world, if you're a game designer and you're following someone who is one of the bad game designers from the SJW point of view, they'll cancel you too, right?
Don't you think that's backfiring on people though, a fair amount? Or do you think that actually does the bigger agenda that they want?
No, in the bigger political sense, we've seen in these last couple of weeks that there are people who have been fired because of something that their wife or their husband or their kid said, right? And for refusing to condemn them, right, or to call them whatever, alt-right supremacists or something like that. So if you don't, turn on your own family, you're going to lose your job too, right? Just because the idea is the entire family should pay for the thought crimes of the thought criminal, So it's becoming really ridiculous, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the funny thing is Job was told about this by someone doing that to him, right? Nobody did that with me on Facebook, and I didn't even find out about this until you guys pointed it out to me. Because like I said, I have very little presence on Facebook. It's because I've never found it to be a very good venue for talking about RPGs or sharing stuff about RPGs.
Yeah, it's not.
Yeah, so I got tagged into this thread by somebody. That was like the second time someone tagged. The first time someone tagged me, and I didn't like the guy, so I didn't bother to respond. I sort of like the guy that tagged me into the other thread, and then he did it. This other technique is where they don't just tag you; they tag like 6 people. So it's like you're being called out onto the carpet. And I don't know. I had enough, basically. I kind of defended Venger, and I was just trying to get the guy to admit that he's not really a racist. And I mean, Venger probably didn't like some of the stuff I said, because I was basically like, well, he could just be stupid. Like he could just not have, he could have worded it better, so it didn't seem like he was coming from the same viewpoint as somebody else. And I actually went as far. I don't know, Venger, if you mentioned yet about it, the guy that threatened to knock out your teeth at the next convention.
Oh yeah.
Before you tell that story, Venger, I want to congratulate Job on having stood up to people who were trying to cancel him, and also congratulate him on having stopped censoring himself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, can people hear him now?
Yeah, they can. I just, as a workaround, I grabbed my microphone from my desktop and just pasted it into every single window. So
stop censoring yourself is the new stop hitting yourself here.
Right.
All right, Venture, tell us about the guy that threatened you with violence.
Yeah. Let's see. Let's see if I have it here. His name is Diogo.
Well, let's not name people. We're gonna give them attention, and then they'll say that you attacked them or something.
Don't go after this guy. It's not there's.
Well, yeah, no, I'm not. Just okay, fine.
Yeah, just go with the first name or something. Don't actually identify him.
Beware that there are people out there, and I do have a record of it that I saved in my Word documents or something, or a screenshot or something, just in case legally something comes down the pike where I've got to fill out a police report or hire a lawyer or something like that. But yeah, this guy was just like, if I see you at a gaming convention, I'm going to start punching you because you're a Nazi, and I'm going to punch your teeth out or something like that. I don't know.
Yeah, he said something like, you're going to lose teeth. And then he posted a little picture of some kind of World War II propaganda of
punching a Nazi
getting punched in the face, and then he called you Adolf.
Yeah. Well, here's part of the problem, right? That this I would say to people, okay, don't harass this guy, but he ought to be reported on Twitter for threatening violence, right? Except that we all know, or on Twitter, on Facebook,
right?
But we all know that nothing will happen to him, right?
I did report him
1,000 times, and he's not going to be sanctioned. On the other hand, if Venger threatened to punch someone on Facebook, he would immediately be banned for life, right? So like, this is the double standard. We've seen things like Project Veritas, undercover filming, pointing out that the people in charge of adjudicating the rules on Facebook have said directly that they go after conservatives, right? And they'll ban conservatives as much as possible, and that's their enemy, right? So we know that this is how it is there. It's like this on most of the main social media.
And it's also stupid on that guy's part, because I'm 6'1", about 200 pounds, and I've got like toddler picking up muscles, the dad muscles.
Those get big.
And I'm also, paranoid enough to be like aware of my surroundings, and I'm pretty sure that however tough this guy thinks he is, he's no match for me. So don't try it for a number of reasons. One, it's against the law, and two, you're just an asshole, trying to silence someone politically with violence. And three, you may just get your ass beat. So, yeah.
Well, we have an example in Jeremy Hambley, who was assaulted at Gen Con.
Right, exactly.
And I thought of that too. I thought like, oh man, if I'm at a gaming convention out at a bar, someone could just come up to me and be like, hey, are you Avenger Satanis? I'm like, yeah, and then boom.
Yeah. No, I mean, you can get sucked,
but then I will have to
Jeremy
defend myself or get out of there, and then hire a lawyer, and then like sue the person to like own his kids.
Yeah, except that these people almost never have any money, right? So like, here's the thing, right? Jeremy Hambley, he did everything right. He didn't fight back. He backed away. He got out of there. He tried, and then he tried to pursue legal means, and the police didn't do anything. And then I don't know. I think he tried to do a lawsuit. I don't know if anything's come out of that.
Oh yeah, he won.
And then Gen Con, did he?
Yeah, they settled out of court, and the guy actually had like at least a sizable, maybe 50% stake in some sort of gaming store in New England. And so I think he didn't discuss like the exact amount, but I think Jeremy Hambley got, a nice settlement.
Yeah, it was a sizable sum. He also had to record a video, an apology video, and then Hambley played it on his the quartering channel. So it was pretty funny.
That's good at least, but
it was a half-assed apology though. Of course, it was minimizing the guy's role. I can't remember exactly, but anybody in the chat room, if you guys saw it, it was a ridiculous like half apology. Terrible.
Well, now here's the thing though. Gen Con banned both of them, right? And you know that Matt Fantastic or whatever is going to be unbanned eventually, and Jeremy Hambley never will, right? So
yeah, of course.
To me, I don't know. The lesson there is next time when someone tries to,
you listen there.
Defend yourself. You have a right to defend yourself, and you should.
Actually, I after this whole thing, I just deleted Facebook and everything off there because I watched those videos with James O'Keefe, how they're like censoring like conservative views. Not that I'm a conservative or anything, but I don't agree with trying to shut people's voice down, really. So I just deleted all my Facebook because I thought about it. I was like, I can't think of a single like intelligent discussion I've had. I think, and all the game groups I'm on, I've been like slowly dropping out of them because they like will, say this Paul, I don't remember who the last guy was, like this Paul guy is a racist and he posted a Trump meme and blah, 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 like calling him out on like the OSR something Facebook group. And I was just like, what? But I always say so. I was like, I don't agree with this. This is really wrong. Like
the biggest OSR Facebook group in Facebook is absolutely controlled by SJWs, right? And almost all the groups on Facebook are, from what I've seen. And Facebook used to be kind of a wasteland for RPG stuff back when Google Plus existed. And now there aren't any good groups there that are actually like free speech. They just don't exist. So at least I've never found one. I found one that was supposedly a free speech OSR group or old school gaming group. And then the owner of that group tried basically to get me to pay him money to be on the group, you know. So I said, fuck you, yeah. Yeah, he was like, well, you're advertising your stuff on this group, right? So, you know, like I was participating, I was commenting in other people's threads, and of course I was posting links to my videos and to my stuff when it came out. And he was like, well, you need to pay me money for that. And I said, no, I don't think I'm going to pay you money. And then he kicked me out of the group, you know,
So wait,
right,
Avenger, before we go any further, you said in your little blog post, all lives matter.
Yeah.
But that term has been turned into, you know, a racist rallying cry by far left activists or something like that. So when I was arguing with this guy, he said that you self-admitted to being a racist by making that statement. So can you tell everybody are you a racist? Was this supposed to be a racist post?
No, I'm not a racist. I really try to give everybody that I don't know personally a clean slate and the benefit of the doubt. I try to take individuals just as they come, judge people on their own merits, not because of the t-shirt they're wearing or the color of their skin or their sexuality or whatever they identify as. So no, not racist. And it pisses me off when I hear people say that saying all lives matter is racist. That irritates me. And I'm not going to buy in to that false premise that leftists and radicals and even some mainstream Democrats adhere to. You know, there's that Asian woman that lost her Harvard job, or she graduated from Harvard and she had some other teaching job, and she made this TikTok video saying that the next person she hears saying all lives matter, she's going to stab them. And then as they're bleeding out, she's going to say, I have this paper cut and all cuts matter, or something stupid like that. And then she lost her job because you just can't say shit like that on social media, just like threaten normal people, normal Americans, because they say something as simple and matter of fact as all lives do matter. But yeah, that sort of phrase is banned on N-World. Like, you can't even say blue lives matter. Like, someone tried to say that, sticking up for the police officers. And then Morris or I don't know if it was the administrator or some forum person, I can't remember what the name of that is. Anyway, they got on their face and were just like, no, you can't say that, because it's like you're copying Black Lives Matter, and that's the most important thing, and everything else is lesser than or racist. And so basically, like, fuck that. Like, all lives do matter, and I'm not going to buy into your racist bullshit.
Okay, so Venger, if you were at a Black Lives Matter protest, would you walk up and say all lives matter to somebody there?
I wouldn't be there.
Okay.
At a Black Lives Matter protest, because I know that within a matter of minutes, I could be attacked by someone of Black Lives Matter. I could be attacked by Antifa. I could be attacked by the police because they assume I'm part of Black Lives Matter or Antifa. I mean, whenever you go out and like protest or riot or whatever, I mean, you kind of taking your life in your hands, I feel. So I would never do that. But if I went there, no, I wouldn't say all lives matter, because I'd be afraid of getting like a skateboard smashed in my face or shot, because these people, they're unpredictable and they're lawless and they're radicals. So yeah, I would never go there. I would never say that, because I'd be afraid. I'd be afraid as a white person saying that it'd be taken in a racist way by racists, and that, you know, I could be shot or killed or maimed or whatever.
You know, I was trying to puzzle through this the other day. I was thinking about this earlier. I was doing some yard work. Is, you know, like, I think organized racist organizations like I don't know, the Ku Klux Klan or something. I mean, I think the people that are members of these type of groups are just insignificant. Like, you know, these groups that the ADL is always rallying against or railing against. But so, and I say the same thing all the time. Is like, there's not a lot of significant racism in society, but then at the same time, like, you always see people on the far left making this, you know, comparing orcs to black people or doing this other stuff. So like, how do you reconcile the worldview that there's no racism, but then like all these people on the far left seem to be espousing these, I don't know, I think to me, they seem like racist views. What do you guys think?
Well, here's the thing about this statement, right, of all lives matter, that ostensibly the leftists claim that their problem with it is that this is somehow suggesting that Black lives don't matter, right? And that's not right? Because by definition, if all lives matter, Black lives matter. And of course, Black lives matter exactly as much as all other lives matter. The whole thing that you should be fighting for in America is equality under rule of law, right? Which means that you shouldn't be treated differently by the police depending on the color of your skin, and you shouldn't be treated differently by government based on the color of your skin, and you shouldn't be treated differently in terms of your likelihood of being able to get a job based only on the color of your skin, right? No matter what that color is, whether it's black, white, yellow, or anything else, right?
Right. And Venger, I want to throw one thing in Venger. You're like afraid that people are going to attack you. Which people are you afraid are going to attack you? Because I'm pretty sure what you didn't say and were alluding to is that white people would attack you.
At a Black Lives Matter rally?
Yeah.
I would be more, it's probably 50-50, but if I had to put money one way or the other, I would be more afraid of the white woke liberals or leftists rather, because I consider myself, you know, old school liberal. But the leftists,
right, same with me.
I'm more afraid of the white woke leftists than I am afraid of the black folks in a Black Lives Matter rally.
My particular view on this, and the reason I had asked you, like, would you walk up to somebody, is because, like, if you were at a protest and someone is demonstrating for Black Lives Matter, and you walked up in their face and held up a thing and said, "No, all lives matter." I don't think that would be appropriate, because you're kind of trying to take the spotlight away from them. And I think that's the argument that a lot of people have. But then, you know, like Facebook, for example, or other social media isn't a Black Lives Matter protest. So I think there's got to be some space for people to express other points of view. And I think there's a lot of people that have reservations about Black Lives Matter as an organization, which that's even hard to say because there's so many different organizations that are kind of loosely affiliated with one another.
Right.
I mean, there's space for valid criticism. Actually, I was listening. It's so funny that you got like thrown out the window for this earlier, Venger, because I was listening to Tim Pool earlier while I was doing the dishes, and he read a couple articles about how you know, several prominent like Black Lives members in the UK have publicly stated that you know, the movement has been co-opted by like communists and Marxists and social justice warriors and they're like taking away from the message rather than, you know, they basically co-opted the movement. And like,
yeah, a lot of them are white. They're taking away. It infuriates me even more when you see like some white punk that's dressed in black with like a mask on, like he's from Antifa or something, but he's holding up a Black Lives Matter sign, and he's in the face of and screaming at a black police officer, and you know, that's just so fucked up. And the cognitive dissonance is just like,
yeah,
what are you doing? Like, don't you understand that what you're doing now is like so much more racist than like anything that you're screaming about for the last, you know, couple of years.
The problem is that on the one hand, these it's true that Antifa are using the much more popular Black Lives Matter movement, not to say the organization, but the movement itself, as a cover for their bad behavior. But it's also true that the Black Lives Matter organization is letting them do this. It's not, it's collaborating with them on this, right? So it's still a big problem. And as far as this notion of Black Lives Matter and All Lives Matter, the real problem, the underlying problem that happens here is that the ideological group that is running the organization of Black Lives Matter and Antifa, the whole movement of these deconstructionists, is that they don't actually believe that all lives matter, right? They don't even actually believe that Black lives matter, because if by definition, if you don't believe in this idea of absolute equality under the law, then you don't believe that any particular type of lives matter. What you believe in is that whoever is the principle that Foucault taught, right? That in fact, all power rests in control of language and rests in those who are able to control the language. So what they want to do is to be in control, and they're in power and they control the language, and then they determine what groups matter more and what groups matter less, right? So they want to create this hierarchy, but it's not based on it's not even based on a notion that Black lives matter more than white lives or something like that. It's just convenient for them to make this hierarchy so that they can be in control. But the problem with that, if you really believe that Black lives matter, if you really believe that all lives matter, is that in that world, whoever has the power could get to decide, tomorrow they could get to decide that, some other life doesn't matter, right? So
if you're a Marxist,
dangerous ideological concept,
If you're a Marxist, then the only lives that matter are the ones that are useful to the party.
Yeah, exactly. The fundamental idea of Marxism is that human beings are cogs in this machine of the collective, right? So in fact, in a Marxist concept, no individual lives matter at all, which is how, you could justify letting 30 million Ukrainians starve to death if that served the benefit of the party,
Marxism is all about, making an omelet and breaking really as many eggs as possible. They don't see it as a bug. I think Marxists see it as a feature that, oh yeah, you get to kill like thousands of people here, 10,000 of people there.
If you want to
get to utopia.
If you want to look at it in like the most idealistic form possible of the Marxist concept, their idea is to create a society that will give the most collective good to the most people equally, right? But what the problem with that is that this means that if 51% of people are going to be slightly better off than they used to be, then it doesn't matter if the other 49% of people die, right? So this is the best case scenario of Marxism. But I think we should bring this back to gaming. And
Yes.
I wanted to point out a bit of the history of RPGs on social media, right? When Google Plus came out, almost nobody liked it except gamers for some reason. And there was a ton of posts about RPGs and groups about RPGs on the old Google Plus social media. And during that time, Facebook was mostly a wasteland and Twitter was just, at a minimum of activity, and hardly anyone had a gaming related YouTube channel at that time. And then Google Plus shut down, and what you had was this kind of exodus. And I think what happened in that exodus is that you had the cultural libertarian and conservative gamers went, a lot of them into MeWe, which is another very obscure social media app. But if any of you in the audience don't know about MeWe, you should check it out. You should join it, and you should check out the groups there, because there's a ton of really good groups on RPGs there, which are really, really great for conversation. And they're almost all, free speech type groups, because the SJWs, they originally kind of wanted to be the ones in charge of me, and then the place got flooded with free speech people, and then they just said, no, screw this, right? And they went.
Yeah, don't you remember too, Pundit, when the exodus happened, that all these people were like MeWe, and then like a couple days later they were like, the SJW wing, like behind the scenes back on Google, and they're like, oh no, the guy who owns this is conservative. We can't go there. Don't go to MeWe. Don't go to MeWe. But then it was too late. Like the floodgates had opened and everyone had flooded into MeWe by that time.
Yeah. So MeWe's really good. And then there's a bunch of conservative gaming posters on Twitter, even though also there's a lot of SJWs on Twitter. But I think in Facebook, what you ended up having was, the SJW contingent has really got a lot of control there. And I don't see a lot of groups there on Facebook that are of any real utility if you're a free speech type of gamer.
Should we talk about the D&D boycott now?
I was thinking about Pundit, after that last James O'Keefe video where they were kind of showing how the moderation at Facebook is very slanted to one side. And that was part of the reason why I deleted Facebook, because I was thinking about it and I was like, I never see anything but like kind of far left ideas like thrown at me or suggested to me, and all the content, every single group is kind of got this like group think going on. I was in this music group. I forgot what it's called, but a friend of mine invited me to it that's into music. And I posted a couple things on there. And then one day I got Kanye West's new album, Jesus is King, I think it's called. Which I'm not a Kanye West fan at all, and I'm not actually religious. But the album is freaking amazing. The music is really, really good. And I was just like, whoa, blows me away. So I posted one of the videos to this group, and it apparently my friend that invited me, I got thrown out the window. I got defenestrated from that group, just like Venger. And it was all just people like Orange Man bad type of stuff. And but I knew I was going to get thrown out, I kicked out of the group. They were just like waiting for me to say something. So my last statement, that I knew they were just going to kick me out, it was like, you guys attacking me like this is the reason that Donald Trump is going to win in 2020. And of course, boom, I was forcibly ejected from the group. And my buddy runs this kind of like a weekly music listening stream on I don't even know. Just on Zoom. It's like a private thing. And he said to this day, people still talk about it. It was like 6 months ago. And he talked to the guy who ran it, and the guy was like, "Oh, I'll let him back in." And I was like, "Why would I want to go back into that group? That's ridiculous." Like,
anyways, to go to the next topic.
Wait! Before we go on to the next topic, Pundit, why don't we just flip over to the chat room real quick and see if anyone else has some comments on this?
Sure.
Let's see. Have you guys been monitoring the comments?
Is people saying,
someone's saying Schultz. Oh wait, that's me.
Venture should prove his innocence by making an Alpha Blue supplement filled with sexy black women. That's a good one.
Is blaxploitation considered racist now? Because I feel like if I did that,
spirit of like racist. Also, if
blaxploitation, then I would be considered even more of a racist. And
if you make an Alpha Blue supplement that's full of black characters, you'd be a racist. If you make an Alpha Blue supplement that doesn't have any black characters, you're also a racist. And you're probably a racist if you make an Alpha Blue supplement with just one black character.
Right, because that's tokenism or something. Yeah.
So that is probably a good lead into the next topic.
Anyway, because we're otherwise going to run out of time,
Pundit.
On to the next topic here. So meanwhile on Twitter, we've had a very interesting thing that's been happening this last week or so, which is that the SJW crowd on Twitter have all now been has to be boycotted. And the reason for this is, well, first of all, just because it was inevitable that they were going to start calling for this, right? And because apparently they felt that Wizards' commitment to Black Lives Matter wasn't enough. And then also this person who was, I guess, an employee of Wizards, at least said they were an employee of Wizards, and as far as I know, Wizards hasn't denied that, has said that they've quit. Wizards also hasn't denied that the person quit, so presumably that's also true.
and that they quit because they said that actually Wizards of the Coast was completely failing in terms of its diversity, that they were taking on people as diversity hires only, and that person wasn't given enough important jobs to do, and that they were being, there was a culture there that was a toxic culture and all of this sort of stuff, right? So now you have a ton of people on the D&D hashtag of SJW people, right, saying we have to boycott Wizards of the Coast, we have to cancel D&D, the company has to be boycotted, and all of this sort of thing, which I think is really something that undoubtedly Wizards of the Coast is, I'm giving it a 90% chance Wizards of the Coast is going to get exactly the wrong lesson out of this. The lesson they should get out of it is that nothing that you do will ever be enough for these people. And the second important lesson they should get out of this is that they should look at how many of these people there really are, because there's actually only maybe a couple of dozen people that are just bombarding Twitter with these demands. And a lot of them are people, if you look at their background, don't play D&D. They never played D&D, right? So the dumbest thing Wizards could do would be to try to make all kinds of concessions and collaborate with these people that hate D&D and never played it and always wanted D&D to be destroyed. They've always wanted, RPGs to be about obscure story gaming indie games that they get to make, right? So and if Wizards sides with them instead of their vast regular audience, that's going to be a terrible mistake. Unfortunately, I think there's about, like I said, a 90% chance that that's exactly what Wizards is going to do, because Wizards is completely incapable of realizing, that they're being played.
Right.
Any comments, guys?
Yeah, I mean, that was one. I mean, we talked about this briefly last week. I mentioned it that the D&D R&D staff, as far as I know, is it's not racially diverse. It might be sexual attraction diverse. I'm not sure. I don't even know the hell the words are anymore. But it's a bunch of white guys basically, and they use their status probably to cling on to being the last people in Wizards R&D, and they made a few hires to try to they hired Kate Welch, so they hired a woman onto their team, a white woman. It pisses me off that I even have to look at the race of all these people. I just don't care. It's ridiculous. Just make a good product and people will buy it. You don't need, this is just a sideshow. But yeah, you can never placate these people, and I don't think they reflect the voice of the majority of people. Just like the abolish. I don't know how the voices of trans activists or some of these BLM people are not reflecting the best interest of the majority of people who believe in their cause, I guess.
Yeah, it's the classic Mott and Bailey approach, right? BLM talks about Black Lives Matter, right? And most people, Black people and white people, do think that Black Lives Matter, and they talk about police brutality, and most people are against police brutality, right? And then the stuff that they throw in there is then, and also we should defund all the police, we should abolish the nuclear family, we should impose a socialist regime in the United States, we should tear down statues of Abraham Lincoln and blow up Mount Rushmore, right? And of course, almost no one agrees with that. But then if you disagree with that, they say, oh, so you want Black people to be murdered by the police, right?
Exactly. I mean, I think everyone in this stream would agree that Black Lives Matter.
I would think so.
Yeah.
I mean, I think
and just like you said, whatever, white lives, blue lives, whatever. I mean, the issue is police brutality, not the color of the people.
Right.
I think.
Yeah, and of course, then you get the extension of it into all this sort of thing, right? Where suddenly these people that are attacking Wizards of the Coast now are equating police brutality and the murder of Black people by police officers, unarmed Black people by police officers, with not hiring enough
gender non-binary people of color, right? So like
It's all
those
systemic.
are hate crimes to them.
It's all systemic, so it's all tied in together, and it's the power structure and the patriarchy and just,
yeah, I mean, when you dig down to level when it's like meritocracy as white supremacy and some of the like kind of underpinning like philosophy that's behind like a lot of these ideas that people on the face of them, they're like, well, this is ridiculous, but like they make sense if you drill down to like the deeper core principles that like the
that's probably the
leaders
most,
believe.
one of the most racist things I've ever heard. The meritocracy is equal to like white supremacy. I mean, that's cold.
That's a fundamental idea.
Like unpack that. That's just,
Yeah. Do you want to explain that, pundit? Because you know what I'm talking about.
That's
yeah,
a
that's just
fundamental
sad,
idea
but-
of neo-Marxism, right? That the systemic racism isn't just about the idea of that somehow the entire system is disadvantaging people of color, but that people of color in fact need special advantages in order to be able to be equal, right? And this comes out of the fact that this is all what would be called, bourgeois socialism, right? It's a socialism that began with upper middle class French academics for the most part, yeah, originally French, now they're all over the place, and it presumes it's kind of the modern version of the white man's burden, right? Like back in the 19th century, there was this notion in imperialism that races that weren't white were inherently inferior. They were less developed, they were less evolved, they were less competent, and therefore needed, the white European man to be in charge of them and to help them, right? Like the argument of white man's burden, remember, was this notion that it was the duty of good Christian white Europeans to go and help these lesser races, right? That was the way that they were trying to sell imperialism to the average person. And in the modern day, that same notion exists in the SJW left. It's this idea that, Black people aren't capable of doing things like, having picture ID, right? So we have to change the voting laws so that they don't need them, right? And Black people wouldn't be capable of succeeding in their own right in a company, even if they had a completely equal playing field, right? If they had a colorblind system, if we achieved a truly colorblind system, that would still be unfair because these other races just aren't as good as us, right? So we have to make it extra
Right.
Balanced for them, right?
And to bring it back to gaming, I mean, there are some domains where maybe like your background or your economic status might feature in you being held back, but game design is not one of them. Anybody has dice that they can grab. You can make dice out of paper if you want to, print it out and tape it together. Anyone has a board game around or can go to Goodwill and get one for a couple bucks. Game design doesn't have some super high barrier to entry. I mean, it's you've got ideas and creativity, and you just go out there and do it.
Yeah, and it's absolutely colorblind. If you don't show a picture of yourself in the product that you're selling, then no one will know if you're, what your color or ethnicity is, right? Like it's something where, there are a ton of people, to give the classic example, that they didn't know that the guy that created Mechton and Cyberpunk was Black, right? There are a bunch of people that are still really surprised when I tell them this today, right? And they love that book, right? And they wouldn't stop loving it if they knew, right?
Right. It's totally ancillary.
It is absolutely one of the most neutral and colorblind industries you could be in, right? Working for big business, well, in theory, I guess there could be the possibility that you wouldn't be hired by a company like Wizards or Wizards/Hasbro because of the color of your skin. But we all know that today, that's super unlikely to be true.
Well,
what we're seeing right now in California is that California is trying to repeal. They're trying to the Californian government is trying to repeal the anti-segregation laws. Right? They want to take down the anti-segregation laws because they want to have segregation specifically so that for hiring, people can say that they don't want to hire white people, right? That they only want to hire people of color, right? Or people of a certain protected class, right? Because currently under the American system, that's not legal, right? You're not supposed to be able to discriminate against a person because of their color, their skin, or their sexuality, right? And in California, they want to overthrow this so that they can demand that only people of a certain skin color, only people of a certain sexuality will be eligible for a job and not get sued, right?
So I feel bad for that guy. I think, or person. I think they said that they were non-binary, and that person's name is Orion, I believe. I read their story earlier today, and I mean, in a way, I feel for them, but I don't think I've ever felt like truly appreciated in any job I've ever had. I never felt like people recognized my greatness or what I brought to the table. Even the business I'm in now that I own.
You feel underappreciated.
I don't feel like anyone respects me or values the things I say or
well, even on this channel, we barely appreciate every time you open your mouth.
Exactly. Even here on the Inappropriate Characters, I'm one of the legacy co-hosts, and I get no respect. I'm like Rodney Dangerfield in this bitch. So, on the one hand, I feel for them. On the other hand, that's just fucking life. I mean, yeah, you get shit on, and then you find a better job, and hopefully, I don't know, a combination of making better choices, maybe getting lucky, or swinging for the fences, and then finally you hit a home run, and then, things start happening after that. So I wish them luck in the future, but that's not a reason to boycott D&D. If you want to explore other role-playing game options and do something more creative or independent or niche friendly, then by all means go out and explore other games, other game designers, role-playing games, supplements, everything else. The OSR has a lot of brilliant stuff for D&D and even non-D&D, like Alpha Blue. But don't boycott D&D just because one person had a bad working experience there. I mean, I don't know. One guy put it that for all the woke people, it feels like Wizards of the Coast in D&D is siding with the grognards and all the old players.
I don't know any grognards that feel that way. I've never seen a grognard in at least the last 5 years think that Wizards of the Coast has been catering to them.
Exactly. And then all the grognards think that Wizards of the Coast in D&D is all leftist and woke and crazy.
Yeah, but I mean, do either of you guys think that Wizards will actually wise up about this and realize that the SJWs will never be satisfied, or do you think that they're going to give in and apologize and react to this exactly by trying desperately to fulfill the current list of demands in the false hope that this will be the last set of demands from these people?
No, this is woke cannibalism. I mean, they just keep eating themselves and finding those that are impure and expunging them from the hobby, and then you're gonna just end up with a product that just turns everyone off. I mean, D&D. The greatest thing about D&D is that it's a game, and just the role playing game hobby, is it's a game that brings people together from different backgrounds, and you come together, you work through any kind of issues, and honestly, I mean, I think it's one of the most important things right now because, kids are so isolated from each other. I feel like this like younger generation, my own kids even, like they don't have empathy for other people. Like they stare at a screen and they attack somebody that says the wrong thing on Instagram or TikTok or whatever. And they just don't have empathy. And I think it's because people don't sit down face to face anymore. It's easy to like attack Venger and call him a racist. But are you going to sit down and play a game with Venger of Alpha Blue at a convention and still be able to like yell in his face and call him a racist? I mean, when you deal with real human beings, it's hard not to feel compassion for them, but when you're behind a screen, you just want to burn and kill people for your tribe or whatnot.
Job, I'm sorry to interrupt, but you're getting a battery exhausted, no signal thing again.
Oh, Jesus. I'll change my battery. It'll come back as soon as I swap batteries out.
And I also have to go.
All
just
right,
put my kids to bed. And now the wife and I have to finish watching Fire Saga or whatever that Will Ferrell, Icelandic, Rachel McAdams movie is on Netflix.
Well, let us know how it is.
Totally will.
All right. Well, I hope you have a nice time there, Venger. We'll finish up here in a little bit. And remember, everyone, if you want Venger to be allowed to stay up later, then be sure to support us on our Patreon here and to share our videos and like them so that we can keep expanding this channel. We would really appreciate that. I think.
Have you guys thought about moving to Subscribe Star at all? I don't know if this is the time to talk about it, but Patreon's
let us know in the audience if you think that it would make a difference if we were on Subscribe Star, if you'd be more, or if we were on both, if you would be more likely to donate on Subscribe Star than on Patreon.
Yeah, would you guys support us more if it was Subscribe Star? I switched over to the chat view.
Comments here from the chat. Electric Pizza says anything D&D can do, the OSR can do better. That's absolutely right.
So true.
Martin Tepley says Wizards of the Coast will move to the market that buys their stuff. Well, in a normal society of capitalist corporatism, that would always have been true. But in the current situation where all of the lower and middle management of corporations are basically subverted by SJW entryists, I'm not sure that's true. I think they're more likely to keep trying to convince the highest ups that this is somehow the true path to greater profit. And we've seen this in so many other areas, right? In so many things like comics and movies, that they're willing to bankrupt their own company in order to push their ideology. So I hope Martin Tepley's right. I strongly suspect he's going to be wrong about that. On a final note from my part, I think on account of what Venger was saying regarding getting respect and that sort of thing, I think in the RPG business, and in my experience in just about every other area of business and life, there are only a few things that really matter in terms of being successful. And one thing that matters is, of course, being intelligent, right? Being competent, being talented, whatever you want to call it. And that does matter. It isn't, some people, especially nerds, sometimes overvalue how important that part is. The much more important part is to be disciplined, right? If you develop a good discipline of work and are able to be effective and productive, I get away with a lot of what I get away with in every area of my life, because people know that if I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it, right? and I can do it consistently. I can do it well. I can do it professionally, right? So if you can do that in your life, in gaming or in anything else, you want to be a successful game designer, then you got to learn a bit about how to design a good game. And then you have to design good games consistently, right? And do that regularly. And you will eventually be able to be, successful at it.
because you can be the most talented or intelligent person in the world, and if you're not putting out stuff consistently, you're not gonna get there, right? And you could be a bit less talented, but you produce a lot of stuff and you're an effective worker, you're gonna end up being able to reach some level of success at least. I suppose you agree with that, Job?
I totally agree. I mean, if we're talking in the field of game design, I'm obviously going to throw out my my 2 cents about working for game publishers and getting paid pennies for your work. I mean, if you can do anything else, if you have any artistic talent and you really want to be involved in RPGs, then draw pictures or something, because it's a really sorry. What did you call it, Avenger, last time? A sucker's game? It's a sucker's game for writers and designers in the RPG industry. It really is. Tabletop.
Well, working for the big companies is the sucker's game, right?
Yeah.
Like, if all you want is for people to think that you're an important person in the RPG world, like if you want to try to claim, well, I work for Wizards of the Coast, right? Yeah, okay, great. You're going to be underpaid, and what you're going to be producing is stuff that you're being told to produce, and that it's not really going to be any kind of indication of actual talent or ability, right? If you want to be able to do what you want to do and be successful and also make more money than you will, like if you write a game product for a big company, you're going to be paid pennies a word, right? If you write a game,
no royalties in this day and age.
Yeah, if you write a game for yourself, you're going to be paid based on how popular you manage to make your game, right? So you have to know how to sell yourself, and you have to make a good game, and that's the way to be able to make a living off RPGs.
True. All right, you want to take it just back to the chat room real quick, and just a reminder, everyone, please like, subscribe, and sign up for notifications if you can. That really helps the channel grow. And also just watch all of our clip shows. If you see the notifications for our clip shows, most of the views come in through browse features, which means like people just being on the homepage through the recommendation engine on Google. But if you guys watch them and like them, and just leave them on in the background, it really actually would help us reach more people. So anything you guys can do to, we really appreciate.
Because the algorithm isn't necessarily going to benefit us. So if you share the videos, that helps a lot.
Yeah, definitely.
So on the chat, Sad Wings Raging just said, even talking about discipline to an employee will soon be racist. Pundit, wait and see. Yeah, that's probably true. I mean, that's what the code of conduct of our independent RPG design that the SJWs came up with says, right? If you tell a person that they're past their deadline for producing something for your game, then you are in breach of conduct, right? You're not allowed to do that because you're mentally traumatizing the poor artist. Anyway, and yeah, speaking about discipline, I've got well over 100 game products. So if you guys also, if you like us, support our game products. You see Venger's got Chalt he left Chalt there on the screen while he goes off to watch Will Ferrell. And as for me, if you like my stuff, then be sure to check out my books, Dark Albion and Lion and Dragon, Arrows of Indra, The Old School Companion, and Star Adventurer, which is my newest print product that is selling really well. You get Star Adventurer for just $9.99 on DriveThruRPG. And if you want to just give me a kind of a tip, check out the RPG Pundit Presents series. There's 101, including Star Adventurer. But besides Star Adventure, there's another 100 issues of RPG Pundit Presents, which are full of different things you can use in your OSR game, your D&D game, and most fantasy games, ranging from weird fantasy stuff to medieval authentic stuff, adventures, setting stuff, rules stuff. So take a look at all of them, see what sounds cool, and pick one up, right? And they all cost somewhere between, apart from Star Adventure, which is $9.99 for the print version, they all cost between 99 cents and $4.99. So it's like you're buying me a
coffee or tipping me on Patreon, but you're also getting something back of your choice. So be sure to look into that. Job, you got anything to sell yet?
I don't. I mean, here, you guys can at least see. I printed up my logo for Bloody Hammer Games.
All right. Well, that's a start.
But I'm not
You know
selling
what I
them
was
or
saying
anything.
about
But
discipline?
I got to get my site up. This kids, this is why you should not work for all these top tier, mid tier game companies. I get like 0 from anything. Oh, and I never mentioned Lamentations of the Flame Princess, but I've worked for them. If you buy my Lamentations Towers 2, I get royalties from that off of RPG Now. And one other thing. Oh, I wrote Courting of Chaos for WotC for the Adventurers League Season 1. So I get like 50% proceeds off of that. I've written a lot of I've got, I don't know, 12 or 13 credits to my name. If you check out my goodreads.com/Joe Bittman. But like, there's no reason for me to even plug any of this stuff, even though I've really done some design, some adventures that I think are really, really good. Like The One Who Watches from Below. But it's like, why promote any of this stuff? I don't get anything out of it.
You gotta start making your own product.
Yeah, I'm still working on Brutal Blades, and I want to get a playtest version out there pretty soon, so other people can just start playing it and give me some feedback. So
either that, or you'll have to publish my next RPG. One of the two.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, well, at least I'm a reliable person, and I won't ghost you. So.
Well, yeah, we had a little problem the other week with Dominic Cruzet that had kind of vanished for a bit, but I found him now and everything is cool. We're all.
Oh, that's good to hear.
He was just distracted by personal events, so he wasn't answering my emails. So we're all good now.
Well, that's easy in these times.
See, almost every product I've made has been on a royalty basis, except some of my very, very early stuff, right? Like I don't get royalties for No Murdered. And
that's the way to do it, because the pay per word rates for most RPG publishers are so low that it's like
I don't get royalties
it's a
for stuff I
pittance.
consulted on, obviously, but most of the stuff I write I get royalties for, except now Lords of Olympus, which I sold to Presses Intermedia for a very good price. So I still recommend that if you want to get a good diceless game, check out Lords of Olympus, but I don't make any money from it anymore. So, but everything else, that's the thing. But you have to be a really successful game designer nowadays to get a small press indie company to agree to a decent royalty split with you. Because most of the times when I team up with one of these companies, they know they're going to probably be making more money from my game than anything else they publish, right? So so it's worth me taking a 50% cut, So they're like, I'm still going to make more money than I would off my other products.
It's probably more hurtful than helpful, but the best company I've worked with by far is Lamentations of the Flame Princess. If anyone out there is an aspiring game designer, and James Raggi listens to pitches from anybody. He's very open to listening to pitches at LOTFP at Lamentations. LOTFP at LOTFP.com.
I've never heard anyone who did stuff for James Raggi that felt cheated by him as a writer or something like that.
Oh no, it's all pure percentage stuff. So you write, you do the work, you write it, you hand it over, he prints it, and you get a cut of the proceeds or whatever.
Sales, and that's the way to do it, right? If you have confidence in your product, if you know you're writing well, and in the case of Lamentations, he's gonna choose stuff. Generally speaking, he's gonna choose stuff that it's got to be for his system, but it's also going to be stuff that he thinks is going to sell, right? So
right, yeah,
so that's
definitely.
That's one place he can do it without already being the RPG pundit.
Right. And just to correct some people on the chat room, so Sad Wings Raging Bloody Hammer is actually a reference to Rocky Ericsson's song off the Evil One, Bloody Hammer. So it's bloodyhammergames.com is my website. And then it's not Buried Axeblade. It's not Brutal Broads. It's Brutal Blades. So there's like a little teaser site up at brutalblades.com. This is just it's kind of a takeoff. It's a cross between 5e and DCC RPG, basically, sort of, but with some like more story game-ish elements. Don't throw anything at me, pundit. There's some cool innovations that I think are cool out of story games.
Sadwings Raging said, Red Star Adventure, and other than the pistol ranges, it is great. RPG pundit, well done. Well, see, the thing about ranges of modern weapons in RPG games is that if you're going to be really accurate about them, ranges of firearms are really long, right? Like, so the problem is, in my experience, if you're trying to make it an accurate range, you can end up having these firefights where people are like taking shots at each other from extremely far distances, and in some ways that can be, if you're doing something that's meant to be accurate to like realistic, like if you're doing a game where it's like a non-fantasy, it's like your FBI agents or something like that, then you could be like, if the point is sort of a quasi-realism, that could make sense, right? But if you're like trying to do like a space opera game, then you don't necessarily want weapons to have absurdly large ranges, and so you have to kind of scale it down a bit. Anyway, I guess we've chatted all we're going to chat today, and we're going to be back in 2 weeks, presumably, emergencies accepted, and we'll see what we're talking about then, I guess. Anything more to add before we finish, Joe?
No, I think we pretty much have scraped the bottom of the barrel here on these couple topics.
All right. Thank you all for watching, and be sure again to subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, and hit the notification bell so you get informed anytime a clip video comes out, or you get a reminder every time we're doing a live stream. And be sure to share the videos too. And now I can't hear Joe.
Oh, sorry, I was on mute. I just said, thanks for watching, everyone. Have a good week.
Take care, and we'll see you soon.